Welcome to Rewild by Design, a podcast for women in midlife who are ready to burn the rule book, drop the good girl mask, and come home to who they really are. I'm your host, Marissa, a human design and Gene Keys mentor, and your guide in this wild woman era. Get ready for bold conversations, raw truths, and the kind of insights that'll shake you awake. Because midlife isn't the end of your story. It's the point where you finally get to write it your way. Welcome back to Rewild by Design. I'm your host, Marissa. And today I want to talk about the roles that we wear. You know, the ones that we've been praised for, rewarded for, and sometimes even trapped by. We all carry them, right? The dependable one, the responsible one, the one who never drops the ball. And on the surface, these could look admirable, but underneath it all, these roles can leave us exhausted and feeling invisible in our own lives. So, if you've ever wondered why life looks fine on paper, but feels hollow on the inside, chances are you've been living in a role that doesn't actually fit who you are. And I know this story intimately because I've lived it. I've spent years, decades, being the good daughter, the ambitious career woman, the high achiever, the one who got the good grades, and the one who never, ever dared to rock the boat. I was reliable and polished and always in control. People could count on me. And for so long, that became my entire identity. But what no one saw, but besides maybe my husband, was that I was exhausted and I was resentful and I was extra bitter, like super dark chocolate. I was disappearing into everyone else's expectations. And I remember sitting in the parking lot and after work, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And I realized finally that I had no idea what I actually wanted. And that was scary. I knew what was expected of me. I knew exactly how to keep playing those parts. But outside of that, I didn't know who I was anymore. And that moment cracked me wide open. And then once you see it, you can't unsee it. So let's talk a little bit more about some of the really common roles I see women in this season of life, so the midlife season, the roles that I see them wearing. So, one, we've got the good girl, right? She follows the rules, keeps her head down, earns approval by being agreeable. But by the time she reaches midlife, she feels trapped, almost like a caged panther. Like she's still living by those rules written decades ago. Then we have the strong one. This is the woman who never asks for help. She carries the mental load, the financial weight, the emotional weight, and in midlife, her body often forces her to stop because she has pushed for too long, maybe in the wrong direction. Then we've got the caretaker. She puts everyone else's needs ahead of her own. The kids, the partner, the parents, the coworkers, everyone comes before her. And in midlife, this role can leave her wondering why she feels so empty when she's done everything right. And then we have the achiever. She's always after the next degree, the next job, the next accomplishment, and never pausing enough to really savor those moments. And midlife often brings this like painful realization that the ladder she's been climbing is actually leaning against the wrong wall. And then last, we've got the peacemaker. She, this woman avoids conflict at all costs. She swallows her voice to keep the peace, to make harmony. And by midlife, the silence feels incredibly unbearable, and that resentment continues to build quietly inside of her. Now, maybe you've seen yourself in one, two, or maybe all of these roles, and they're not random. These roles were necessary. They helped us belong, they helped us fit in, they helped us get far in our life, and they kept us safe in our families, in relationships, in workplaces. But the very thing that protected us in our 20s and 30s becomes the thing that suffocates us in our 40s and beyond. Now, carrying these roles for decades comes with this cost. Physically, it could look like burnout, hormone imbalances, stress related illness. Emotionally, it looks like that resentment, restlessness, or just this quiet sadness that you don't have a name for. And spiritually, it looks like feeling disconnected from yourself, maybe from God, universe, source too. Like you're watching your life instead of living it. Now, the hardest part about all of this is when you've built an entire identity around a role, letting go feels unsafe. It feels dangerous. And what I want you to know is that it's not the letting go that's the hardest part. It's the moving on and the what next. Because let's say if you're not the caretaker, who are you really? And if you're not the achiever, will people even still respect you? And if you stop being that good girl, will people still love you? And all of these questions are like bars on the cage. And then for me, this is where human design and the gene keys can feel like a deep exhale, like a relief. Because again, they don't hand you another identity. Like I've said before, they hold up a mirror. They show you where exactly you've been overcompensating, where you've been living against your own energy, and where you've been wearing a mask just to belong. For example, in my chart as a projector, I finally saw how much I had forced myself into the role of the constant worker to keep up, even though my design isn't built for that. And I have an undefined ego or will center, and that pressure was all about feeling worthy and having to prove myself. So, looking deeper at my chart, it helped me see where I've been performing these people pleasing patterns, or how I've been ignoring those inner signs that were guideposts trying to get me back on track. And maybe for you, it's very similar. And the power in human design and the gene keys isn't in labeling you, okay? It's in helping you see which roles were never really yours to hold on to. So let's pause here. Let's take a deep breath. And if you're in somewhere safe, not driving, not operating heavy equipment, let's close your eyes for a minute. And if you need to, pause this and come back to it when you're in a safe place. But take a few deep breaths. And again, close your eyes and ask yourself, which role or roles feel heaviest for me right now? And where did I learn that I had to be this way to be safe or loved? And if I weren't carrying this role anymore, what would become possible for me? Now, you don't need all of the answers all at once. Just notice what wants to come up. And that awareness is where the change begins. So I want to remind you that letting go of roles isn't a dramatic event. It's small daily acts of rebellion against what no longer fits. It's saying no without explaining yourself. It's asking for help instead of carrying it all. It's admitting to yourself that what you've built looks fine, but it doesn't feel fine, and being willing to change that. Now, these small cracks in the role are what let your real self shine through. And once that self starts to breathe, those old masks begin to lose their grip on you. So, here's what I want you to take with you from this episode. The roles you've been performing have kept you safe once, but they don't define you anymore. You're allowed to outgrow them. You're allowed to take them off. And you're allowed to remember the woman underneath it all. Now, if you want a simple way to begin, grab my free energy snapshot audio. I'll link it in the show notes. This will give you insight into how your human design energy is designed to move through life, and maybe some shifts that you can start practicing right now. This is the work of rewilding. It's not adding more to your plate, but it's letting go of what was never truly yours. So that's it for today. Again, I trust and believe that you have gotten what you needed, and I can't wait to talk to you in the next episode. Well, that's it for this episode